So how do Republicans respond when we raise the fact that they're trying to destroy our democracy? Well, by accusing Democrats of doing it. Let's talk about it in today's video. Hi, I'm Mike Greiner. I'm a lifelong Democratic activist who's concerned about the direction our country is taking. I'm also a lawyer and an academic, and I'm here to help you stand up to the BS of the MAGA crowd. So if you're one of my regular viewers, you know that I've been watching a lot of Fox News lately. And watching Fox News kind of makes you feel sometimes like you're looking through the looking glass. In this video, you'll see Steve Doocy going on and on about how the Democrats are the ones actually undermining democracy, using examples that show that they're the ones undermining democracy. Let's check out this video here.
Evening, everyone. Welcome to The Next Revolution. We are pro-worker, pro-family, pro-community, and especially pro-America.
Okay, let's start with this. Pro-worker? They're against unions. Need I say more on that? Let's keep watching.
So, the thing we've learned about today's Democrats and their media servants is that...
Okay, wait a minute. And they're media servants? This is a guy sitting on Fox News talking about that. You know, I'll tell you, with media servants like the Washington Post and the New York Times, who needs enemies? They attack Joe Biden as much as anybody else. The difference is Fox News also attacks him, but they don't attack Donald Trump or any Republicans. Let's keep watching.
The louder they scream about something, the more likely it is they're guilty of that exact same thing. They scream about diversity and compassion, but when 50 Latino migrants arrive on Martha's Vineyard, they call up the National Guard and deport them to a military base.
Actually, that's completely false. The people on Martha's Vineyard actually having been caught unaware of the fact that there were suddenly going to be these migrants dumped off in their homes, went out of their way to take care of the migrants and treat them like real people, and then work with the state government to find a place where they'd be able to stay. Let's keep watching.
They scream about fairness, but pushed school closures and lockdowns that hurt working Americans and helped the rich. And of course...
Wait, how did that help the rich? As I recall, the school lockdowns and closures were an effort to try to address a pandemic that was out of control. I don't see how that helped anybody. Let's keep watching.
Climate and the private jets, yeah, that one's too easy. John Kerry, whatever. So, bearing all that in mind, what are we to make of the main focus of their screaming these days? Watch.
They're a threat to our very democracy.
Threats to our very democracy.
Extreme threat to our democracy.
Attacking our democracy.
Undermine democracy.
Our democracy.
Our democracy.
Our democracy.
Our democracy! Republicans are a threat to our democracy.
All true. Let's keep watching.
Oh, really? Is it Republicans who pushed early voting, which basically nullifies election campaigns?
Okay, now I love this. This is one of the most convoluted explanations I've ever seen in my life. Early voting has been shown repeatedly to make it easier for people to vote and for more people to vote when early voting is allowed. And yet they come up with this convoluted explanation as to why it's bad. Early voting doesn't force anyone to vote early, and it doesn't stop people from informing themselves about who they're going to vote for. But yet there's this whole insidious explanation about how it's supposed to silence Republicans. I've never seen anything quite so convoluted in my life. Let's keep watching.
And protects incumbents, sending out ballots just after Labor Day for an election 2 months away, 2 months in which anything could happen, you know, something totally wild.
Now, let me be clear about something. I've worked as a political operative, and I've worked in a situation where we had early voting. And the way you deal with it is you just understand the fact that certain people are going to be voting early, so you try to communicate with those people earlier on than the people who are going to be voting later. And you can identify those people based upon the science. That's how you deal with it. This convoluted explanation of how it's something insidious, it just doesn't sit with the facts. Let's keep watching.
Like, I don't know, debates between the candidates. Sorry, can't change your vote. Too late. It's early voting. If you're a political outsider or new to politics, trying to get your name out there when voters actually start paying attention. Sorry, too late.
So he's basically saying voters are too stupid to make up their minds early? Let's keep watching.
Early voting. Insiders and establishment only. Did Republicans do that? No. And now we know why Democrats are so obsessed with early voting.
Because it makes it easier for people to vote and more people vote when we have it? Let's keep watching. No, Republicans prefer long lines on Election Day. Let's just be clear about what's going on there. What would you prefer? Let's keep watching.
Bill Clinton let it slip just today.
We have to note the Republicans always close well.
That's why Democrats want early voting. It's not about saving our democracy, it's about saving their political skins.
Okay, I'm going to do another video on Bill Clinton's interview, but Bill Clinton was actually making a good point here, which is that they close well because they lie. They make up issues and create things that have no basis in reality and present it to the voters in a period of time when people can't respond and get the facts out. That's what he was saying, that they close well. He was talking about their propensity to lie, which, frankly, is an abuse of the democratic process. That's not something that helps democracy. Let's keep watching.
And that's why they wrote what is probably the most anti-democracy legislation ever put before the US Congress. Nancy Pelosi's notorious H.R. 1, the bill that Kamala Harris just told us they would abolish the filibuster to pass. And no.
Yes, H.R. 1, the bill that would make it so people can vote more easily. Imagine that. And guarantee that there's no gerrymandering. Imagine that. Let's keep watching.
No wonder, among other horrors, it would impose early voting everywhere, automatically register voters from any government database. What could...
Yes, imagine that. People get automatically registered. They don't have to go through all kinds of hoops to get registered. Imagine who might get registered. Maybe people who might not vote otherwise. Let's keep watching.
Possibly go wrong with that? Register 16-year-olds, even though it's illegal for them to vote. Impose mail-in voting nationwide, even though the Jimmy Carter James Baker Commission said it was the most vulnerable form of voting to fraud.
And yet, everywhere where it has happened, there has been no evidence of fraud found, despite repeated efforts to find it, including by Chris Colbuck of Kansas. But yet there's no evidence of fraud that's ever been found as a result of it. Let's keep watching.
And it would extend vote counting beyond Election Day, even though that's exactly what allows conspiracy theories to thrive.
Yes, because that would actually allow us to get a full count of everybody who voted. Imagine that. Let's keep watching.
Massively overreaching federal law would undermine most states' voter ID laws. And just because all of that is not quite egregious enough an assault on our democracy, the Democrats, on top of all that, want to mandate nationwide the banana republic atrocity of ballot harvesting.
Ballot harvesting is a BS fake name made up by Republicans. There is no such thing as ballot harvesting. There are people who might be disabled and are unable to fill out their own ballots, and people are allowed to assist them. But ballot harvesting is something that does not exist. Let's keep watching.
Harvesting. The people who never stop lecturing you about protecting our democracy are the exact same people who think it's okay for paid political operatives to go from door to door helping voters to fill out the mail in ballots they now automatically get, and not...
Just to be clear, the only case where it was actually found that someone used ballot harvesting illegally that to undermine an election actually occurred when a Republican did it in North Carolina, and they had to hold a new election as a result of it. Yes, this is not a Democratic problem. Let's keep watching.
Not only do they think it's okay, they want to make it available in every state. I mean, why don't they just cut out the middleman and pass a law making the Democrat candidate the automatic winner of every election?
Okay, now let's be clear about something. The Democrats are the ones who are willing to accept Democratic results. The Republican ones are the ones who are not. And by Democratic, I mean small d there. In fact, there's a study that I'll link to down below by the Washington Post, where they asked a whole host of candidates in the upcoming election if they would accept the election results, whether they won or not. All the Democrats said, absolutely, we'll accept the results. The Republicans, half of them said they would not accept it. And that's par for the course. I mean, we saw this happen in Virginia, where there were all kinds of predictions before the governor's election that the Republicans, because the Democrats were in charge, were not going to get a fair shake, and they would not accept the results unless they won. Well, guess what? They won! And what did the Democrats do? They stepped aside. They honored the results. That's the difference. Part of democracy is believing that the other side can sometimes win, and when they do, stepping aside and allowing them to have that victory. That's what Republicans are opposed to, and that's what Democrats repeatedly do. And yet here they are claiming that the Democrats are the ones who don't support democracy. Let's keep watching.
They clearly have total contempt for the democratic process. One candidate after another, refusing to even debate.
You see, when he says contempt like that, you know that he's trying to rile up people's resentments, because that's what the Republicans trade in. Their currency is resentment and getting people upset. And so he kind of tries to rile up that emotion in people, and he does it quite effectively, I have to say. Let's keep watching.
In California, In the state controller race, pathetic Malia Cohen won't debate the Republican candidate, Lan Hee-chen, who'll join us later. Same thing with state attorney general. Crime totally out of control, but the useless machine politician in charge, who wasn't even elected in the first place, Rob Bonta, won't debate his challenger, Nathan Hochman. These Democrats hate democracy.
Now, not debating is an opportunity for the other side to say, hey, they're not debating, to turn it into an issue. So, in terms of it being not democratic, that really has nothing to do with it. Let's keep watching.
Unless it delivers the only acceptable outcome in their view, power for Democrats.
And again, that's what the study from the Washington Post said. The Democrats accept election results, the Republicans do not. Let's keep watching.
They have the mindset of a totalitarian one-party state. You think that's hyperbole? Listen to DHS Secretary Alejandro Mayorkas last Sunday on the 9/11 anniversary.
Now we are seeing an emerging threat, of course, over the last several years of the domestic violent extremist anti-government sentiment, false narratives propagated on online platforms.
So, in other words, the people who basically committed a violent invasion of the Capitol on January 6th, trying to overthrow the legitimately elected government of the United States, sounds like a pretty big threat to me. Let's keep watching.
You hear that? Anti-government sentiment now makes you a domestic violent extremist, the equivalent of a 9/11 terrorist.
Okay, this is what the Republicans do now. What they do is that they pick on one word and make it seem like it applies to everybody. For example, when President Biden talked about how MAGA extremists were deleterious to democracy, he wasn't talking about all Republicans. He was talking about the MAGA extremists. Similarly, this guy, what he does is he takes the word anti-government extremist and then says, oh, anybody who might have some issue with the government is an anti-government extremist and you're the problem. That's not what this guy was saying. What this guy was saying is specifically about these right-wing extremist types who are trying to violently overthrow the government, who basically have found a home in the Republican Party at this point. Let's keep watching.
America was built on anti-government sentiment, and now Democrats want to criminalize it. Does anyone realize how chilling this all is? When Democrats say democracy, they mean power for them. That's why Biden thinks nothing of illegally giving a $500 billion bribe to rich college kids.
Okay, wait a minute. $500 billion bribe to rich college kids? It's been shown that the vast majority of the debt forgiveness is going to go to who? Oh, the middle class. Imagine that. Well, let's keep watching.
It's why they collude with big tech to censor political opposition and crush dissident voices. It's why they gerrymander congressional districts while complaining about gerrymandering.
The Democrats are the ones supporting legislation to get rid of gerrymandering. The Republicans are the ones who've blocked it. If they want to get rid of gerrymandering, support legislation to get rid of it. Very easy. Democrats are in favor of that. Let's keep watching.
It's why they're trying to rig the voting rules permanently in their favor while accusing Republicans of undermining democracy. It's why they're politicizing the FBI, the Justice Department, law enforcement, to go after their political opponents, parents.
You see, the difference is when they went after Donald Trump, they had evidence to support it. In fact, I'll link down below to multiple articles that talk about the lengths that Donald Trump went to politicize the Justice Department, wanting law enforcement to go after his political enemies. And yet they accuse the Democrats of this. This is what Republicans do, pointing the finger at somebody else when three fingers are pointing back at themselves. It's projection. Let's keep watching.
Anyone who stands in their way, how dare they talk about undermining democracy when that is what they themselves do every single day.
You see, the difference is we believe that democracy means everybody gets to vote and give their opinion and provide input. The Republicans only want democracy when their people can vote, when the white Christians can vote and they get to impose their beliefs on everybody else. That's the difference here. But just see how insidious it is and how the Republicans are able to bend the narrative to make it seem as if they're the ones standing behind democracy and the Democrats are the ones undermining it. It just shows what a danger they and their Fox News supporters are to American democracy, and it shows how reasonable people can be confused about what's actually going on. Well, if you want to see the lengths that Republicans have gone to destroy democracy, check out this video I did a little while ago over here about their efforts in Wisconsin, which have basically resulted in Wisconsin being turned into what has been called Hungary on the Great Lakes. I'll see you then. In the meantime, let's hope for continued progress. Thank you.